going. We're out on a Saturday morning. Just mowed for about 4 hours. Grass is soaked because it's raining again. And I just heard back on a couple of quotes. And, man, there's certain things that kind of ruin your passion for things. We all hear that phrase that, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's absolutely not true. That is probably one of the worst pieces of advice you could ever take to heart. If you're going to start a business around your passion, and, you're going to try and just do it, fully retain your passion or what, I don't know how to phrase this, but basically, if you go into it purely passionate and not interested in the money, well, you just have an expensive hobby, right? It's not a business, it's not a company, it's just an expensive hobby. And here's the thing, man, what I'm talking about is I genuinely love learning about plants and grass and lawns and even just like the mowers themselves, the maintenance and stuff, how do you tweak this and that just to get just a little bit better of a cut. And there's a lot of little just tidbits of information that most people just don't have when they get into a lawn mowing business. And I guess part of my issue is that over the years of doing this, I have just sort of taken work just to have it, right? And it's like, oh, you just want it mowed, you don't want to get the lawn treated, so you're just fine with the crabgrass clumps, and it's going to turn brown every time we cut it if you go 2 weeks. Yeah, that's fine. I just want it short. And I've really just kind of been, I guess, too lax with that. And what it ends up doing is you just end up doing things in maybe not the worst way possible, but it's just not as good as it could be. It's not what I want it to be. It's not that passion portion of it, right? And a long time ago, I just had to sort of accept that 99.99% of customers that you come across are not going to want, or honestly just flat out can't afford, the absolute pristine perfection version of what you're doing. It's rarefied air, right? That's going to be paying for that level of service. So, these quotes that I did, one of them was just the lady that, she's got a big old house, huge. I'm pretty sure it was a 3-story home, all brick, beautiful walkways, but every single bit of it's overgrown. She mows it, doesn't weed eat it. One of the rose bush plots is completely dead, so she wanted it all pulled out, and there was a giant rock she wanted pulled out there and wanted it tilled so that she could just mow the area. Tons and tons of work, wanted everything put in pine straw. She had a retaining wall that she wanted the top of it completely cleared out and low maintenance. And so she wanted this thing cleaned out, set up, big old house, okay? Horribly overgrown. I mean, it's going to take me alone probably 2 days. Because the way I do that stuff is I want to get everything bad out first. So I'll spend the whole day just trimming, cutting, cleaning. I'll pull out every bit of the debris. She wanted a tree line cut back. So it's going to take a long time. And then the next day I would come back and do your final spray, weed prevention, and then put your pine straw down. Final spray, weed prevention, trim up the hedges, or final spray, weed prevention, spray the hedges with fungicide if it needs it, put down, whatever. All the little tidbits of finalizing the cleanup, and then install your pine straw. And so you're talking about just tons and tons and tons of work. And I quoted her what I thought was a really, really reasonable price, and this was going to be for like top level work. And I gave her some maintenance pricing for every 3 months. We'll come in, do it a once over to keep everything as clean as errandly possible. And she's like, oh, at this time we're going to look at other offers and just make sure we're making the best decision for our family. It's like, you want the cheapest price possible. Like, stop. Like, what is that bull malarkey? You want the cheapest price possible, because here's the deal. There's a Joe, a Johnny, a Steve, a Phil, a Kevin, whatever. There's a whoever that's gonna pop up in there, and he's gonna do that whole job for $600. Everything that I just mentioned, probably more, for $600, so that he can drink this weekend, okay, and so that he can make, a car payment or get a down payment on a car, whatever. Like, there's some Joe who's gonna come in and just do a hack job, and it's gonna look good for 3 days until the weeds start popping back up into it, and it's gonna be a mess, and the plants are gonna die because it's gonna bump into them, and do that little fracture that kind of kills the plant. I've seen so many weird little hack job things, and I'm gonna get a call back to come back and sort of do it the right way. This happens so much, man, and it's because people don't have actual passion for working outdoors and learning, like, all of the stuff that you see on, like, the magazines, right? And in the really crazy looking, like, insanely perfect posts online, like, learning what's, first and foremost, what's real and what's reasonable and what's realistic for your area, but then also learning how to achieve all of that. Like, there's a lot that goes into this stuff, man, and these guys are just not doing it, and so they can come in here and just, weed eat and throw some pine straw all over the top of the weeds, and again, in a month's time, especially with all the rain we're getting, that thing's gonna be right back to the state it was in, and now you're just out $600, and you still ain't got a good landscape. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Another quote: a guy just bought a $660,000 house, okay, and it wasn't a huge house, but it was in the upper scale neighborhood. It was in the prime time big boy neighborhood, right? I think the cheapest houses in that area are like $500,000, maybe $550,000, and his was $660 plus. And it wasn't a huge house, but it had a lot of landscaping, and it was over mulched, so I needed to pull out the old mulch. The Bermuda lawn had creeped into every single flower bed, so all the beds needed to be redefined. He's got a sprinkler system, so that needs to be done by hand. So all the way around the house, hand digging a new flower bed edge, pulling out all the old mulch, trim up all of the hedges, including 5 15-foot tall hollies that were on a hill. So I'm gonna have to get up on a tall orchard ladder, and it's sketchy, but that's how you do that. Tons and tons of, like, work that, if you're in this neighborhood and you have a house that's that expensive, you want the top quality, you want the best stuff. And I'm just going to put the number out there. It wasn't a huge landscape. It would have taken me about a day to really get everything pristine. Like, maybe like one 8-hour day, and then probably at the very most like 3 to 4 hours to finish mulching the next day or whatever. And that's in, like, the worst case scenario. But it wasn't a massive landscape, but there's a lot of plants, and then just all the hand digging and stuff, right? I quoted $2,100, give or take some change, little numbers in there, but let's just call it $2,100. And you do the math on that, and that's to get a pristine, perfect, everything in order landscape, right? That's 0.3% of the value of that home to get a pristine, beautiful, perfect, by the books, as should be, best of the best for the plant and for the everything. 0.3% of the value of the home, and then I just maintain it for every 3 months. Very, very easy, simple process for him. And again, I just want to say 0.3% of the value of the home, not 0.5%, not 1%, 0.3%, one time, and then you just keep it maintained. And he comes back to me and he says, "Hey man, I've gotten other quotes up to $275 to get the job done." And I'm like, there ain't no freaking way. This neighborhood, people are not going to go into this neighborhood for less than $300. And you're going to tell me they're going to do all that work that I just mentioned for $275? It's like, oh, no. That was just for the hedges, So you're going to tell me they're going to get on a big old ladder on a slope, and they're going to perfectly trim these 15-foot tall holly shrubs, and trim everything else, and remove the dead shrubs, and fix your crepe myrtles, and fix all your roses, selectively pruning. They're going to do all that work for $275 in that neighborhood. Listen, I don't know, man. This is the kind of stuff that just makes you lose your passion for things. And I guess the whole point of this video was like, you have to stop taking this advice to heart, that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's just so untrue. And these are a few examples of why. Customers will make you lose your passion because they won't allow you to put your best foot forward. They won't allow you to lawn treatments, right? You need a year's worth of lawn treatments, and then by next season your lawns should look really, really good. People only get 2 or 3 lawn treatments in and say, well, it's not good enough yet, so we're gonna fire you. It's like, well, I've barely even scratched the surface. What are you talking about? And by the way, the lawn does look fantastic. What are you talking about? But stuff like that will make you lose your passion. So what I've learned in the last few years is that instead of focusing on delivering just absolute, point by point perfection for customers, I just do it at my own home, right? Whenever I have the time, I'll get out there, and the passionate part of landscaping, I just do it for myself because I know how it's going to turn out. I know it's the best thing for what I'm doing, and it scratches that itch, right? It allows me to use the knowledge, the information that I have, and it actually allows me to put it into practice. I just earlier this year replanted a hillside at our house, and I'm still going to work on it because I really, truthfully, don't have a ton of time to work at home. But we did that. We did a garden this year, and you get to apply all those things for yourself and get the benefit. And it's kind of like just a little secret, right? That I can just make your lawn look as beautiful and perfect as possible, but you just have to pay for it, I guess, right? I always put the offer out there, but as far as the business itself goes, I just want to make sure my bills are paid and that we have plenty of money sitting in the account just waiting to be spent, right? So for that sake, I just, oh, you just want me to cut it? Okay, cool. We'll just cut it, and then I zip over the lawn, and then I go home and manicure mine, right? So that's that. Speaking of which, I'm going to put sod out eventually at my house. We've been tinkering around with fescue for the last few years, and I'm over fescue. It just gets too hot, and the second the heat hits, it fries it. No matter how on top of it you are, no matter how much water you're putting down, it's just not worth it. So we're going to be doing a Zoysia sod install at our house either this winter or maybe next springish. And I'm so looking forward to finally having a lawn that stays living no matter what. All right, so I don't know, weird little tangent. The video's over.